Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the TMossBoss Show. And in today's episode, I'm gonna try to hurry up and get this episode out the way. So if it seems rushed, it's because it's freaking 2:30 a.m. and I'm trying to go to sleep. And I hate doing multiple takes of episodes and stuff. But anyways, no, so overall, like this episode, it's called Depression Random Talk. And for those that have been, longtime veterans on this podcast, you know that I used to do like a lot of like random talk episodes where I'll just, talk about a bunch of different random things. But anyways, no, I wanted to overall like that, but just, talking on like, topics that are like surrounding like depression and stuff, because I know a lot of people deal with it. I've dealt with my fair share of it. I know people that have dealt with their fair share of it. And it's a thing where it's like, people, yeah, they're gonna deal with it, whether it's some small stuff or whether it's some, big things that you feel like you can't handle. But people are gonna, and even if it's a small thing, you still gonna feel like you can't handle it. Because I'm saying, like, that's the thing. It's like depression ain't like something that you could just manage. It ain't something that you can take control of. You could take control of that stuff like once you done dealt with it, or if you're placing, that situation, whatever you're dealing with, in like a similar situation or another situation where it's like, okay, how did I get through that? All right, I just got to use that strategy, that mindset, how I got through that and get through this. So that's possible, but you're going to have your time when you're dealing with it and stuff. And, it's going to be hard. And so for those that have never dealt with it, but for those, I'm pretty sure like anybody that really, sat down and heard my podcast, I'm pretty sure, y'all have dealt with your fair share of depression. I feel like, usually the people that do follow me, they've dealt with their fair share of depression. They've had some things that overall have gotten to them. And, you know what? That's the thing. Like, it's okay. Like I know people think like, oh, it's bad being depressed. It's bad being like, yeah, you obviously don't want to be like actively staying depressed and like never trying to like, obviously you want to like fix that stuff, you want to like get that stuff like out of your system and things. But, like I feel like everybody that I ain't dealt, that I ain't talked with, and not so much, well, people that are like fans of me and stuff, I'm pretty sure y'all have dealt with your fair share of depression and things. But no, that was like, I remember that was like one dumb thing somebody had told me about like depression, because I remember when I very first came out and talked about it, about how I've dealt with it. Like that's one thing I just want to like tell y'all is like, don't listen to nobody if they're trying to tell you how to deal with your depression or how are you, or like don't listen to people and they try to like tell you about yourself, because they don't know you. You know you, all right? But no, like I remember when I had posted a video and I was like, I think it was either last year or some point in time, and I talked about it, and somebody had commented and was all like, oh, you're not depressed, you're just sad. Like that's like one of the things like I don't like is when people try to like tell me what's running through my mind, as if they're actively through my mind. Like just because you've dealt with stuff and you've been sad don't mean that another person's going, oh, because like, oh, that person's dealing with similar situation, or they're dealing with something and they come off as like sad or whatever and stuff, and so like, oh well, I was acting like that, so that's what it is, they're just sad. You don't know that person. You don't know that person to tell them. And people think like, oh, you gotta go to a doctor to get diagnosed with depression. So you mean it's like, so it's like that with everything, right? So let's just say this. You break your arm, all right? You're at your house, right? You break your arm. You can clearly see that your arm is snapped to the side, like where the forearm part is at. It is snapped to the side. You mean to tell me you can't look at your arm and be like, well, I don't know. The doctor hasn't diagnosed me with a broken arm yet. So I think very well. I think my arm is not broken. Like, no, you're not going to think along those lines. Like, the times when I've dealt with, my depression and stuff, I've sat down and looked and just been like, hey, yo, this ain't comfortable. Like, this ain't right. This is like, I wasn't feeling like this the day before or the week before or however long before. I was fine. And now I'm not. Like, now I can't function right. Now I can't get out of bed. Now I can't record videos or podcast episodes or do a stream or do whatever it is, content creating, or even go so much as wanting to hang out with people. Like, it's crazy. It's honestly, it's one of the most craziest things. And it's like this past year dealing with that, I have to say, it was probably the most, like, mind-bleeding war that I've ever been involved in. Like, oh my God, this past year has just been crazy. It's one of those situations where I'm like, hey, yo, I don't ever want to deal with that again. Like, never in my life. Like, bruh, there's so many other things I'd rather deal with. I'd rather deal with that 4 years of hate all over again than to deal with my depression. Because I'm like, my depression was no joke. Like, man, like, crying for the first time in years. Like, having your heart feel numb. Like, just like literally the surroundings of my heart and my heart itself felt numb. And that kind of scared me because I'm like, fam, like, I wasn't feeling like this. Like, and now all of a sudden I am. What does that mean? Am I gonna die? Like, what is going on right now? So bruh, I got scared because I'm like, this is not right. This is not right at all. Like, the thing is that with depression, you get like very like careless. Like, not about others. I mean, probably, everybody is different. So it might be you, it might be others. But for me, it was like everything possible. I got careless with everything. I was like, I ain't care about YouTube. I ain't care about people. I ain't care about myself. I ain't care about nothing. And that's just, a mindset where it's like you look at somebody being happy and you're angry. The fact that they're happy. And that's not who I am. I'm like, where I see my friends like posting about like, whatever it is, whether they get a new job or they're in a, healthy relationship or they just got married or they're having a kid or, stuff is going good with them. And then I look at it and I'm mad. Like, that's not who I am. Like, that's not who I am at all. But that's what I was doing. There would be friends that they'll post how they get into a relationship. And then it's like, I'm pretty sure everybody knows the whole like rejection thing that went down last year with me. And then, so yeah, afterwards, it's like, there's friends of mine getting into relationships and stuff. I'm looking at it mad. And I think about that now. That's why I'm like actively thinking now, like, hey, yo, why am I mad about this? Like, what's the reason of being mad about this? Like, what is it going to change? It ain't going to change nothing. It ain't going to, like, make things better. So that's why I'm like, fam, like, being mad about stuff, there's no reason for it. Like, obviously, it's going to happen. Obviously, however you handle things, like, that's how you're going to overall, like, handle things. So, like, that's the thing where it's, don't think for a second, like, oh, you got to handle things this way or handle things that. Like, no. However you handle your depression, that is how you handle it. But it's like, my thing is this. That's, like, one of the things where it's like, we're going to talk on depression. It's like, we got to talk about suicide. And suicide ain't no joke. That is not no joke at all. I've never have dealt with it. I've never, like have overall like friends that have dealt with it. But I treat it as a serious like topic with anybody. If anybody comes to me and they talk on that, even if it's like they're not even really being like clear with it, but I still like, like if somebody, they tell me that they're sad or they're depressed or whatever, they going through it, I'm like, I try to be there for them as much as they can so they don't get to that point where suicide is like on their mind. Because I'm telling you, it's like, my thing is like, I had to say I haven't dealt with it, but I put my shoes in them, like people that have, and I think that's one person I do talk on. And it's it's sad that she has to be I don't really want to call her an example, but it's like it's sad that you gotta like bring her situation up as an example. But anyways, now it was this girl named Amanda Todd, and this happened like years ago, and I still remember her name. I still remember this situation. But anyways, she was talking to somebody. I don't know. It was just some random person, I believe. And I think they wanted like nudes, and she didn't send them, or I think she did. I can't remember, but either way, like the situation did not go good for her. Like that people like eventually discovered like what was going on between her and this person, and she ended up like like getting bullied at her school, and so I think she switched schools, and then she went to another school, and then she got bullied there. And yeah, overall, she killed herself. And it was a story where I was like, I hear that story and I'm like, man, why did that have to happen to her? At such a young age. Like, I think she was in school. And so I hear that, and then I hear like other stories and other situations, like especially with like content creators and stuff. Like, that's like one of the things I was thinking on is how like, a lot of content creators be mentally going through it. Like the one I feel like, that went through it And, and overall, it was, a situation where he, had took his life. And it was, and it's sad and messed up that had happened. But Etika, like, that was a YouTuber where I was like, when I heard his, like, situation, when I heard, like, the stuff that he was going through, and I'm like, man, like, mental, like, health, like, that's not something that you should just, like, look over. It's like, and that's like where it's like the internet, it has a lot to do with it, because there's people out there that try to, like, use that against you, like use your own depression and your own sadness against you. And it's messed up that there's people in this world that would do that. And there should be not one person in this world, regardless of whether you dealt with it or not. You should never use a person's depression or sadness or whatever you want to call it, their anger, frustration, stress. You should never use that stuff against them, because for one, it ain't right. And two, I'm like, it's going to get to a point in time where you dealing with your stuff. And guess what's going to be 10 times worse? You thought it was bad for that person. As soon as karma makes its way around you, fam, it is going to be 10 times, if not that, 100 times worse for you. So that's why I'm like, people, I try to, like, put that into, like, everybody, like, live a positive life. Like, be happy. Like, don't like have, like, hate or negativity in your heart, and then, and it's for the wrong reasons. Like, yeah, like I was saying, like, with depression, it's like, you dealing with something and stuff, but even then, like, you still shouldn't, because I'm saying, like, when I dealt with my stuff, and I even tell people, like, that now, like, I tell them, I'm like, hey, yo, look, if I'm going through my stuff, like, I ain't gonna, like, bring that out on you, then I'm like, oh, I can't, like, oh, I can't be happy. Or it's like they come to me, telling me something, or they're saying how they're depressed. I'm like, fam, during my depression days, I will very well be there for them. That's something I'm like, I ain't going to be like, oh, I can't be there for you because I'm dealing with my own depression. No, I'm like, because that's like one of the things that, like, that I do a lot is, like, when I give out advice, like, to somebody, I'm like, because I'm with me, it's like, I'm kind of like empty minded, like, when I deal with my depression and stuff. And so when somebody comes to me and they need advice, they need help, then I go and tell them, and I'm like, hey, yo, that was actually good what I just told them. I'm like, I might have to take that in for myself. And that's usually how it is for me. And so when that's why I'm like, I tell people that all the time. It's like, feel free to, like, reach out to me and, like, tell me some stuff. And yeah, I'm like, because people, it's like, you don't deserve to be going through stuff alone. That's like one of the things I'm like, that I'm big on. And it's like, because, I dealt with it myself. And I'm like, nobody should ever, feel or be alone on something, because it's like that alone feeling. I don't think a lot of people, like, realize, like, how hard that is on somebody, where it's like you have nobody there, like, you are by yourself, like, it's just you and them four walls there surrounding you. And yeah, I'm like, that's why I'm like, whether it's virtual or whether it's face to face, I'm like, I try to be there for as many people as I possibly can be. Because I'm like, at least, my thing is this, is like, if I leave this world, at least I can, like, say that I'm like, I was there for people when they, needed somebody to, like, be there for them and stuff. So that's why I'm like, hey, it's, if you're dealing with your stuff, like, whether it's me or whether it's somebody else, but it's like, definitely, seek out some friends, go find friends, go make friends, go to random places and make friends. Literally, go out in public places. Step out of your comfort zone, because I'm like, that's like one thing where I think a lot of people just overall need to know. It's like, it is very well okay to step out of your comfort zone. And it's like, whether you're not going through something or whether you are going through something, especially if you are going through something and you need you a friend, fam, go up to some random people, okay? Make you a friend. And I'm like, because I'm saying, like, at the, what would you rather be dealing with? Your depression, or it's like, or what do you think is a more awkward, like, situation? Your depression or you making a friend with somebody? Now, I know, like, people be having, like, their social anxiety and they're antisocial and they don't be liking to talk to people and stuff, or they might be introverts or whatever. Start up a random conversation online. Go, like, I'm pretty sure there's one of them, like public, like, chat places, or don't go on Omegle. Like, go somewhere, like, a little bit more, like, friendly or something. I don't know, but just don't go on Omegle. I feel like that's not a place to go to if you trying to look. You're gonna find a weird 40-year-old man with no clothes on. That's the last thing that you need. All right. So, but anyways, but yeah, like, overall, like, with like, I guess finish off this episode and things like, it's okay, to like deal with the stuff that you're going through, but it's much more better when you like fix that stuff, and then you overall, like, you're in a much more better like situation in life, because to sit around and be depressed, it ain't fun. It's all right. So like, don't do that to yourself, because that's like sitting around being depressed is 10 times harder than like, finding that happiness and finding out, like, because it's one of those, it's just, you shouldn't sit around and be depressed, pretty much. All right. So point blank, simple, period. But anyways, I will talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. I ain't gonna do no promo stuff because this was a pretty serious episode. And I probably will do a part 2 to this if I do find some more things to talk about, because I do feel like I was recording this pretty late and stuff. So, but yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode, and peace.